And with that, I will move on to the final event of the conference. What I have now is a recorded tour of Dustin Kunkel's dairy farm in Powassan. Dustin recently built a barn starting in 2020 and has just recently got it up and going. So I'll play the video now, and then Dustin will join us, and you'll be able to ask any questions.
I'm Dustin Kunkel. I'm the 5th generation dairy farmer in Powassan. Our farm doesn't really have a name, so it's Kunkel Farms, I guess. We milk between 50 and 60 cows. We have 59 kilograms of quota right now. 1 Lely astronaut robot, a Juno feed pusher. We're installing automatic calf feeders. We built this barn in 2020. It's probably the only good thing that happened that year. It's a compost 2-pack barn. So it's an 80 by 260 foot building with a 30 by 55 milk house, calf room, feed room built off to one side. We have natural ventilation in here, so we have scissor trusses, so pitch ceiling, internal ceiling with chimneys. It's kind of a combination between tunnel ventilation and natural ventilation, so I have 7 just basic fans on posts. They're all angled so I can get a straight north wind through this barn. But everything else is on full automation for curtains and that too. So in the fall and spring, fans usually aren't on because the natural ventilation, the curtains are dropping automatically when the temperature goes up. Keeps everything consistent in here. In the summer and winter, we use the fans just to keep air turning over. In the summertime, we'll have all the fans on and there'll just be straight wind through here. It keeps everything nice and cool. It is a million times better than the old tie stall barn is. We don't have cows that are heat stressed when it's 35 degrees. We built the barn with fairly low ceilings, so we're only 14 feet to the eave instead of 16 like what was recommended. The reason we did that is we want to hold heat in the wintertime. So last 2 weeks it's been minus 30 pretty consistently. The barn's never been below 4 degrees. So like we're really happy with how it holds heat but manages air quality at the same time, and keeps the cows comfortable, keeps them healthy. Lameness is almost non-existent with the pack. We're really happy with it. So as cows come off the pack and they're eating, they typically defecate and urinate over 50% of their time when they're eating or drinking. So scrape alley set up that they can't drink or eat while on the pack, so it keeps it drier. We have a single alley, so we went with a hydraulic ratchet scraper. That's the channel you can see in the center of the scrape alley. It's actually just turning on. What it does is it moves back and forth. It pulls the scraper down from that end of the barn the whole way down to the far end, and it just drops the manure into a 3-foot pipe that flows out into our concrete manure tank. It's automated, but it's super simple. It's almost no maintenance, and it keeps the cows fairly clean as long as it runs enough. We came out of a tie stall barn, so we didn't really understand when we first moved in here. We only ran it off every 8 hours or so, and we couldn't figure out why the cows looked dirtier. And then when we learned that, you know, if you run it every 2 hours or every 4 hours, it makes a big difference. And yeah, we're really happy with it. It's just because it's so simple and it works really well. As every cow comes in here to get milk, it identifies her through her collar on her side. So she has a Fitbit basically on the left side of her. It sits on her main rumination muscles. Logs all her data, how much she's eaten, when the last time she's been milked, all of that. So the robot identifies that through the tag reader right there. So as she comes in, it registers who she is. If she's not due to be milked, it kicks her right through. If she's due to be milked, it instantly starts dropping her designated amount of feed. So it knows how much pellets she's supposed to get per day and splits it up based on how many milkings she averages. So as she comes in, it starts feeding her. The arm comes underneath her, it brushes each quarter individually twice. That is disinfectant, and it also stimulates the cow, that's why it does it twice. and then it will start after the brush arm swings back out from on top of the cows. The arm comes back underneath. The laser confirms the T coordinates that it has mapped in there, and it hooks up each quarter individually. So then as it hooks on, you can see it drops down, and there's just a rope basically hanging it, so there's no pressure actually on the udder. And as it's milking her and she stops milking out of each quarter, it will take the vacuum off that quarter individually, and then the rope will tighten up and it'll pull it down. So that's why you'll see the ones locked up straight. And right now it's finished milking her, so as the vacuum comes off, we'll each come back. And then it goes around to each quarter and sprays the post dip on as she's done. Disinfects the brush again, so there's no cross-contamination between cows. And then, yeah, so it milks her, and she's milked now, so she's been fed her allotted amount of feed, and now it's kicking her. And then the next cow coming right behind her. Right? So every cow in here, she's choosing what she's doing all the time. She might have like a 5 or 10 minute wait in line with the robot right now because it's busy, but that's the most of it. Like, if they want to lay down, and if they're lined up here and they get bored, they'll go lay down. And they don't have to wait until they go through the robot. Or if they want to go get a snack at the bunk, they can go over to the bunk and wait. And during the slow time, it's pretty neat. So there'll be a cow here milking, a few cows lined up at the bunk, everybody on the pack chewing their cud. And there won't be a lineup at all, but as the cow comes out of here, there won't be 30, 40 seconds before another cow comes in. And it's not that they're lined up waiting to go, it's just that they're curious enough, they're waiting. In the summertime when we pasture cattle, the whole barn will be empty, which is really hard to get used to when you build a barn, $1 million barn, and there's nothing in it. It really makes you a little nervous when you're doing it, but our traffic was good all summer. There would be a cow in the robot, one lined up or at the water trough, and then everybody else outside. And as the cow would leave the robot, another cow would come inside the barn from outside. Like, it just, all day, never stopped. It just turns into an extension of the barn, and they just do their thing. You're not forcing them to do anything. So like, you're not bringing cows off pasture and chasing them in. I have a border collie because at the tie stall barn I had to bring the cows in twice a day off pasture, and now he's really fat and lazy because he doesn't have to do anything with cows anymore. Still can't believe how good that thing works. Like, I really don't want you to show this because if my dealer sees this, he's just going to say I told you so a whole bunch, because I thought it was the biggest waste of money ever. And if you ever try and take that out of this barn, I swear to God I'll fight you, because it is worth every penny. It makes a huge difference. So when we put that in November, I was pushing feed manually with a snow shovel every couple hours when I was in the barn all day, and then didn't push feed overnight, obviously, because I had to sleep. So when we installed that in November, within 3 days, the cows went up, I think, 10% in production. So we went from 29 liters to almost 32 or 33 liter average across the herd. And same amount of feed, same cows, just because they had more consistent access to it. I think overnight was the big difference, but even throughout the day, it makes a huge difference. We actually reduced feeding from twice a day. I was mixing 2 loads of feed a day to 1 large mix a day, so it's way less work for me. I only have to drive through here once with the track or with the mixer. And their production hasn't changed, and they have same access to feed the whole time, and it's less work and better for the cows because nobody has sore shoulders from leading into the head gates. It really is made a huge difference. I was actually quite shocked with that because I did not think that something as stupid as a little sweeper that goes up and down the feed alley would help production that much and help the cows that much, but it works. So when the Lely salesman tells you that, you can't just call them a liar anymore. So.
And now we've got Dustin Kunkel on the call. If anyone has any questions about Dustin's barn, are you there, Dustin?
Yep. Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks, Dustin. All right. So what's the model of your Lely milking robot?
It's a Lely Astronaut 5, an A5.
So what has been the what's been the biggest change or your favorite thing about the change from your old tie stall barn to this new one?
Just the flexibility for the workload. It's not a rigid 6 and 6. You have to get to the barn and milk the cows. For me, anyways, for the cows, it's probably the same because they do whatever they want, basically, like I said in the video. But there's still lots of work to be done. You're still milking cows. You're still working with cows. You just don't physically have to be there to do it, which is nice. But the flexibility and the difference in how you work is really nice. It's a lot more relaxing. That'd be my favorite.
Do you still use pasture? And can you talk a little bit about how you have integrated pasture with the new barn?
Yeah, so we're certified grass fed, so we have to graze for at least a third of the year. It was definitely a learning curve with the robot because you're trying to manage how their diet works, basically, with their pellets and visits and everything that way. But we started strip grazing this summer, and that worked really well. So we have an allotted amount of pasture per day for the cows. So they wouldn't be out overnight. I would put a one-way gate up, and then at about 8 o'clock at night, cows would come inside the barn and it wouldn't let them back out. So by about 11, everybody's in the barn. You come down at 5 or 6 in the morning, open the gates, they go back out. I'd move the electric fence to give them that day's worth of pasture. Then open the gates, cows would go outside for the day, come back in at nighttime whenever they're coming in, they wanted to drink water or some pellets, and then I do the same thing the next day. So it was a little more work because it's strip grazing, but it was really efficient use of land, and it was good work for it was good use of pasture and a good way to manage the cows. I think worked for us.
And so, do you have any lessons learned or anything that you would recommend to someone who is either, building a new barn or looking at building a new barn? Anything that you learned in the construction process, or maybe anything that you would do differently about what you did?
I would for sure go see as many barns as possible. I did that before we did construction. I'm really happy about that. Another thing that I would recommend is if you're going down that road and all you've ever known is working in a tie stall barn, I would almost recommend trying to work and volunteering to work in someone's barn so you understand how things are. Like I said in the video, I didn't even understand how a scraper was going to keep the cows clean, and I was only running it off twice a day, 3 times a day. Stuff like that, you just don't understand because you've never done it. So you can see it working and it sounds good on paper, but like it's almost better to spend a full 24 hours talking with a farmer and seeing how it works and maybe even helping them. I would recommend that, and you'll learn a lot of things in how you want to operate your business or new building.
Was there any grant or funding opportunities used in the construction of your new barn?
So we capitalized on the Northern Heritage Fund when we built. That was really helpful for us for sure. We also utilized Canadian Agriculture Partnership for a few different aspects of the facility, just animal handling and housing and stuff like that. They were both super good. It was through Soils and Crops, and then Ministry of Northern Development and Mines was Northern Heritage, and both of them were huge and allowed us to put in more levels of automation than I think we would have if we would have had to do it all directly in pocket. And super beneficial for sure.
So what are your future plans there? Any plans for anything new, any new robots or anything?
So we installed a calf feeder probably about a week after you were here to do that tour. We have that in and running now. It's really nice. The calves basically they eat the same way that the robot works for the cows. So that's super nice. Calves are drinking 6 times a day versus twice a day when I was feeding them with buckets and bottles. And they're for sure doing better that way. I'd like to eventually extend this barn and have all my heifers and everything in this barn instead of having the old barn. But I think that's probably a few years away until we start paying down the debt load we have here now. So, but yeah, no, it never stops. That seems to be the way it goes.
Great. Well, thank you, Dustin. And I don't see any other questions coming in. So I'll thank you for inviting me to your farm, and I'll thank you for coming on here today to answer those questions.
Not a problem.
And well, with that, I will wrap up the 2022 Northern Ontario Egg Conference. I would like to thank everyone who spoke today, and I would also like to thank the Rural Agri Innovation Network, the Chicken Farmers of Ontario, Bioenterprise Canada Corporation, the Cooperation Council of Ontario, and FedNor, and the Government of Canada for all of their assistance in making this conference a reality. And finally, I would like to thank all of you who made the time to tune into this conference. And just a reminder, if you missed any sessions or you would like to revisit any of the sessions, keep an eye on NoFIA's social media, and we'll let you know when the recorded sessions are available. So once again, thank you everyone for attending the 2022 Northern Ontario Ag Conference. And I hope everyone has a great Family Day weekend. Thank you.